Hey, hello again, everybody. It's your old pal Mage. Guess what we're going to do tonight? We're going to talk about circles and squares. That's right, just what the doctor ordered. So, hasn't been that long since I've seen you guys. Um, did the best of 2021 video for you. I hope everyone liked it. Feel free to head on over and take a look at that if you haven't yet. Lots of fun, interesting, cool new music to check out last year. So, just wanted to do hello again, Happy New Year. Uh, you know, just kind of talk at you and say I appreciate you and thank you. Um, I got past the 100 subscriber mark, um, which is great. It's super fun, super cool. So, um, thank you all very much for subscribing to my channel and liking my videos. Um, Viewership has been killer cool. Um, like tens of thousands of views. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna keep making videos, whether you guys like it or not. So people are watching, and it's kind of cool. So thank you all very much. Tonight I wanted to go. This is like probably the third installment of a series of episodes I like to do called Frequent Flyers, where I just briefly discuss um, records that I've just been spinning the shit out of lately for all sorts of reasons, usually because I love the hell out of them. And it's either a case of revisiting, classics or stuff that's been around for a while that I either forgot I had or just sometimes I pull out those ones I haven't seen for a while, a couple years sometimes, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I remember how great it is, and dust it off and give it some spins, and it ends up just kind of like sitting on the record shelf up front for months or 2 months or whatever. So um, yeah, I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff I've been listening to a lot lately, and like I said, some of it will be older stuff, some will be newer stuff. Haven't bought a lot of like recent new arrivals um, as of the first of the year, or even into the later months of last year. I was just focusing so much on like the stuff that I loved, in 2021, and just kind of regrouping and really settling in and listening to a lot of stuff. And so, new year, I'll probably start digging into some new arrivals here pretty soon. Maybe I'll do a video of some some of that new stuff. Uh, so none of this is going to be new per se, but it's going to be maybe new to you. Um, and so I'll just quit babbling and I'll just get right into it. How does that sound? Um, First on the list this evening is a box set that I don't believe I have talked about it or featured it in any of my other little episodes. But this is one of the many box sets that I have. A lot of the a lot of the box set music I have is like ambient and like new age experimental instrumental stuff because I love the shit out of that stuff. And box sets for that stuff they're really affordable. Usually you think, oh, box set, what's that going to run me? $140, whatever. Nah, you can get these great box sets for like under $50. And it's lots of music, and it's all excellent if you're into that type of stuff. I know I am. And some of my viewership and folks who watch this channel are also into this kind of stuff. So this is a box set called The Microcosm. Really beautiful artwork, obviously. And this is what they title Visionary Music of Continental Europe in the years 1970 through 1986. So that's very kind of specific, but yeah, it doesn't really kind of like that title doesn't really like make you go to a specific place in time though. It's all very kind of like it's universal music, but this just happens to be artists that were burgeoning and incredibly popular strictly in Europe right around that time frame, 70 to 86, when electronic music was really like becoming something of a real force. So you get a lot of incredible French artists and British artists and I mean all kinds of stuff. But those guys who were making music, electronic music and ambient music, really popular all throughout Europe. In the 70s and 80s, names you'll recognize like Popova, and uh, what's his name? That great German guy. Well, besides Popova, he's on here quite a bit. Where is he? Anyway, there's some Vangelis on here. Yeah, lots of great stuff. So anyone that likes, kind of the new age, kind of like, kind of hippy dippy kind of shit, but stuff from Europe was just really, really introspective and heady and cool. Of course, a wonderful booklet, ledger notes detailing all the artists with all kinds of pictures and lots of fun stuff, all sorts of beautiful artwork, stuff that really tickles my fancy. You know, stuff about the cosmos and what the fuck ever. But yeah, I think this box set only set me back like $45. And it's just like, fuck tons of music, great music. So yeah, anyone that really digs that kind of eccentric electronic instrumental music, visionary music from Central or from continental Europe, 70s and 80s, you'll really dig that shit. So Microcosm, check it out. I've been listening to that. Well, to be quite honest, that box set has like really never gone away. It always kind of like lingers up front, and it's just one of those albums just can always throw on anytime, any reason. No real rhyme or reason for that kind of stuff for me. So um, another one that crept back up on me. I fell in love with it the moment I heard it in the record store when this came out. Like it's been almost about 2 years now, almost. Um, and it was one of those moments, kind of like, that you see in like movies and stuff like that. You're in the record store and you're flipping and you're just like, what is this? And you holler to the guy at the front counter, Ian, what is this? This is awesome. And at that point, actually, he didn't know because I knew who the band was. I heard the band and I was like, oh, this has got to be them. But there was this gorgeous like woman singing, beautiful, haunting voice, on top of this incredibly sick fucking, black metal, incredibly cool shit. I'm sure you realize now I'm talking about the Emma Ruth Rundle and the band Thou, their collaboration that they did. I think it was probably late in 2019. May our chambers be full. How haunting and wicked cool this is, man. Thou, and they're just like powerhouse, metalcore, black metal music, and their singer just like these devilish, just black metal screams, and he's doing all that in the background almost constantly. I wouldn't say constantly, but throughout a vast majority and bulk of the music. But it's so subtle, it just becomes another one of the instrumentations. You know what I mean? And of course, Emma Ruth Rundle, very popular, everyone knows who she is. Gorgeous voice, and she does all the forefront singing, and I believe she plays the majority of the guitar. She's the sole songwriter of the album, so it's her songs with her on guitar and singing, with basically the band Thou backing her up, and their incredible singer, doing all the backup parts. It's just what a haunting, beautiful collaboration, and incredible art released on that album, or the label that I've talked about a ton, that we all love, Sacred Bones Records. Just one of their flagship bands. I wouldn't say flagship bands, but flagship artists being Emma Ruth Rundle. I think she releases the majority of her stuff on Sacred Bones. Thou, I believe they hail from the Deep South, and I think they're on that Southern Lord. Primarily the albums they release are on the Southern Lord label. So yeah, check all of their music out too. Fucking incredible. Me and my homie went and saw them. It must have been probably 3 or 4 years now. They played in some tiny little shithole bar. Not even a bar. I think it was like a tea house or like a, whatever. We saw Thou, and man, they killed. It was such a quaint. You know how those like hardcore shows are, where it's like there's literally like less than 40 people in this place. There's like 20 people in this place, and it's just like you're all just neck to neck with people watching this incredibly sick fucking music. Like, they were so amazing. So if anyone doesn't know of the band Thou, please check out the band Thou. And the collaboration with Ruth Rundle called May Our Chambers Be Full. It is beautiful. So that one's been hanging out a lot lately. I can't get enough of it. First track on that album is probably my favorite. What's it called? The Killing Floor, I think? Yeah, it's a track called The Killing Floor, and it just sets the mood for the whole album so well. And it's just a masterpiece of darkness. This next one, not so dark. A little bit on the lighter side, but this one is another one of those that it always, pokes its head out of the darkness and reminds me, like, hey man, remember me? Usually it's when like somebody, either on the channel or somebody in other message boards, other places, whatever, just mentions it again, and I just get reminded, like, man, what a cool fucking project. I love this album. It's been hanging out here for like the last month, just kind of been listening to the hell of it. And since I got a new receiver, and it sounds really good, it really makes my speakers pop. And of course, everyone knows of the magnificence of this gentleman, and anyone that's an audiophile, or just really is like a hardcore appreciator and understands the power of high fidelity stereo sound, can really get on board with how fucking fun this album is to listen to. And it's just a collection of sheer pop, rock, prog genius. I don't necessarily call this project progressive rock, prog rock by any means, but there's elements in it, of course, that are very progressive. It being, I think it was 1978 release, maybe not quite that late, maybe a little bit earlier. Yeah, 77. But for 77, progressive rock was kind of like, getting a little bit more kind of fine-tuned, a little bit more radio friendly. So this is kind of what that gears into, but still really cutting edge, obviously, with like the sound quality, production quality. It's fucking Alan Parsons. So yeah, his wonderful project, the iRobot album. Yeah, I don't really need to talk about this. Everyone knows what this is, and how fucking great it is. But I just always get a reminder. And I just, like, if I forget about it for a while, and then it pops back up, and then it's, like I said, it spends like another couple months just being on the front of the pick. So yeah, just wanted to bring this out and talk about it. We all love it. We all know it. My favorite track is the opening track. Kind of comes up from nothing. That cool funky groove. All the wonderful sounds and things he plays along. His production is just super cool. I've never even gone and researched so much as to see if he actually does any of the playing on this album. Does he do any of the instrumentations, or is it all just kind of like a collective, like, super band that he pieces together? Yeah, I mean, the Projectron and the vocoder he was involved with, but everyone, it's just a super band, and he just does all the production and recording, all the engineering. So yeah, he's a mastermind. We all love this shit. And that first track, the introductory song to this album, it kind of just sells it. Pretty fucking cool album. Alan Parsons Project, iRobot, 1977. And here's another one that just kind of like, it's always at the top of the pile. It's got everything I need. It's kind of in the same vein of what we were just talking about. But a little more kind of, I'd say a little more experimental, and more just subtle. It's all instrumental. But this is one of those collective or collection albums by the record label I've talked about a lot and I love. It's called Windham Hill Records. They're putting out they did in the late 70s, throughout the late 80s, put out a lot of soft jazz and new age jazz and certain things like that, electronica. But this is a collection album that they did of all of their electronic artists. So it's not so foofy, fluffy, hippy dippy. If any of you folks like the stuff that's more kind of like, electronic krautrock, Berlin School, that kind of stuff. That's what's on here, and it's called Soul of the Machine. Um, it's a Windham Hill sampler collection of all electronic music. Um, yeah, it's just wonderful. Artists like Fred Simon, artists like Patrick O'Hearn. Yeah, lots of famous names. Tim Story. Um, yeah, I've talked about all those guys before, and it's just a great greatest hits album if you like that kind of cool electronic soft jazz stuff that Windham Hill does. This is an excellent album for you. You can find it anywhere for probably less than $5. It's great. Um, so all you nerds out there, calling all nerds, this is stuff for you. Get your nerd music. Soul of the Machine, the Windham Hill electronic music sampler. I I've had that for fucking 20 years. It's like I'm constantly playing it. It's constant. So, um, all right. Slow down a little bit here, going kind of fast, but just wanted to say thank you again, everybody, for watching, and come back next week or in a couple weeks. I'll do another episode. I've got some new material, working on some new stuff. Always getting new records. So, this is a band now that I have talked about for sure on my channel before, and I wanted to reiterate to all of you how special and how cool they are. They kind of just popped up on one of my episodes I did about bands that are just really kind of super obscure that most people really have never heard of. I don't believe that their career is ongoing. I think it's kind of been put on hold, or they are, you know, grown up and flew the coop, whatever, and doing other projects, or probably not playing anymore. Who knows? But they were kind of a flash in the pan. Not really a lot of people ever heard about them or what they were doing, but they came up on a small independent label in Washington State, um, somewhat affiliated, I believe, with Sub Pop somehow. Oh no, they're on the Suicide Squeeze. Oh yeah, I've talked about Suicide Squeeze before. Suicide Squeeze was an indie label that Isaac Brock started out on in Modest Mouse. Um, and then I think they helped to also form another label called Ugly Casanova was the name of the band. What was that label that they had? I can't remember. But that's what this band reminds me a lot of. I've talked about them before. They're called 6 Part 7, and this is an album called Casually Smashed to Pieces. Really fantastic, cool alt rock. It's all instrumental, but it's a strange breed of alternative rock. It's got a lot of different instrumentation, different styles, just a lot of different sounds, and a lot of different like techniques, and a lot of just odd things that you just really don't hear in the world of rock and roll anymore. I believe this was a release probably from sometime in the mid 2000s. I would say somewhere probably between 2003 and 2007. Get a lot of subtle hints of, like I said, because they're loosely affiliated with that sound and that group of people, the Suicide Squeeze record label in Washington State, you know, so they do kind of sound like that kind of like lo-fi alt rock from like Modest Mouse, Built to Spill, the other side project that he did called Ugly Casanova sounds a lot like that. Yeah, real interesting sounds and cool things, lots of muted trumpet and lots of yeah, interesting effects and all instrumental. Just really, I don't know, it haunts me all the time. If you have a really heavy bass system, if you're into that, if you have like a woofer or anything like that, or have a set of speakers that can really like tune in, I mean, to the really lower decibels. This album's got all kinds of hidden low end. It's crazy. You don't expect it, and then one day when you decide you wanted to, like, you know, crank the bass a little bit higher than you're used to, or hook up an extra speaker you have that has, like, you know, a big woofer in it or something like that, suddenly like, whoa, this fucking album's got some low end mastered into it. Pretty cool album, pretty cool band. They have a small amount of albums that are incredibly hard to get, you know, on independent pressings, and just like stuff that you could probably only get if you were going to their live shows, you know. So, but if you ever come across any of these, you know, albums, buy them, because they're rare as shit. They're a fucking great band. I can't stop playing them. I love this great artwork and the coloration, and yeah, really great band. Everybody check out 6 Part 7. Um, what is next? Oh man, I've been listening to this a lot lately too. I saw a video of my son when he was just like not a newborn, but he was like just barely starting to walk. So this was like about 8 years ago, and I had just discovered these guys. I was getting really, really into progressive rock. I hadn't really ever listened to prog or knew anything about prog, like 10 years ago. Um, and was just really starting to get into it. And I discovered these guys, and they're so great. Kind of goofy sometimes, kind of, I don't know. Even for me, I really love nerd shit, but even these guys were just like a little bit goofy. I think maybe it's their singer, and his kind of elevated, talky, weird, kind of like almost like Bob Dylan type of singing. Um, and they're German, and he sings in English, so maybe that has something to do with it. But the way he gets his words out and the way he sings is kind of funny, makes me chuckle sometimes. But I love the shit out of these guys. They're the German prog rock band called Eloy. Um, kind of bending that genre and bending that term a little bit when you say prog rock. Like, yeah, okay, they're a prog rock band, but um, they really kind of like bend the definition of that in the same way that the folks that call Rush prog and the folks that call you know those types of bands, they call them prog rock. And I'm kind of like, yeah, more just elements of kind of like experimental hard rock and stuff. Though I will admit, I'll swallow my words a little bit, dude. Some of Eloy's shit is like super heady, super super progressive. So I'll just recant everything I just said. Eloy's a killer German prog rock band. This is the first thing I ever discovered from them. Honestly, to this day, it's really the only album of theirs that it's the only one I own. I'll be honest, and it's the only one that I've had other albums, and I end up selling them and stuff like that. This is the only album by them I really like. It's really fantastic. It's called Time to Turn, and this is actually an alternative cover. This art is way cooler than the art for the other. I don't know if this is if this is a German pressing. Um, yeah, I believe this was pressed by a company. Oh no, no, this is an English pressing. This is UK pressing. So anyway, it's just an alternate cover, and the art is way cooler than all the rest of the pressings. So yeah, nice little collector's piece. Really beautiful elf picture. The music is really fucking great, really groovy. Lots of just really cool, similar to like Alan Parsons Project and things like that. The kind of late '70s, kind of more like funky disco, dance prog music. Like what kind of, like I said, Alan Parsons, ELO, stuff like that. Um, the final track on the side one, I just love that tune, Time to Turn. I think that's the one that has a lot of like a lot of the soul singers on it. They get some like R&B soul singing in there. Do, 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 do. That's a great song. Say, is it really true? The final track on the album too. Really great. But yeah, he's got that kind of like almost kind of like Bob Dylan kind of thing going on. Oh, anyway, they're fucking great. The album art's beautiful. Yeah, I pulled this out a few weeks ago, and it's just stuck around. I listen to it quite a bit every other day, and it just reminds me of when my kids were babies, dancing around. My son was dancing around to Eloy when he was like barely 1 year old, swinging his arms, and such a great band. So everyone check out Eloy. Oh, getting down to the last little bit of it here. Thanks again for hanging out with me, guys. This is just frequent flyers, stuff that I've been spinning a lot lately in the last couple months, ever since before Christmas, and they all kind of get into a big pile right here, and then I just like to share them. It's all mostly old stuff. This is an oldie but goodie. I just had to bring it out and show you guys. I love this album to death. Everyone knows I love Brian Eno. He's a master. Everyone knows I equally love Harold Budd, just as much, if not more. Um, but this undeniable masterpiece, Plateau of Mirror. Just what how could you follow up an album, a groundbreaking monumental album such as, Ambient One, Music for Airports, and it's like this goes down in history on lists on YouTube, is probably one of the best follow-ups to one of the greatest albums ever made of all time. And so that's just my opinion, but it is what it is. Like, change my mind, let's argue. When it comes to monumental, groundbreaking shit and greatest albums of all time, and this being the follow-up to that, and it's arguably almost even better. Some would say it is better, with the addition of Harold Budd and all of his wonderful musings and the things he does. But good God, yeah, I ended up scoring a sweet fucking Japanese pressing of this, OB intact and everything from the OB plant in Japan. This shit sounds amazeballs. So yeah, just kind of wanted to show it off. Everyone knows this album and its powers and how, incredible it is. So this one's just always up front, always on the top of the pile for me. Can't get enough of it. So this is kind of one of my favorite pieces in my collection too, because having the the strip intact and the Japanese pressing of this is just like one of my little gems. It's not worth that much. It's not hardly worth anything, but it's kind of one of my personal gems. Wanted to bring that out and talk about that. Getting a little heavier here again. Been listening to a lot of heavy music lately, which I guess really isn't that odd for me, but these heavy bands, I'm kind of picky about my heavy music. I've talked a lot about these guys. One of my very favorite bands, King Buffalo, out of New York State, hailing from Manchester. They had a really busy year. Everyone with touring, trying to tour. I think they pulled off like a half tour thing, maybe like in like mid-April, May, when some stuff started opening up again. I don't know. But they promised everyone, because of what's been going on and being forced back into the studio to work in the studio, they promised everyone 3 full-length LPs last year. I think they pulled off 2. I never saw a third one. So, but yeah, I've talked about this one a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, have I brought this one up yet? I talked about the first LP that they put out early on in the year. What was it called? Oh, no, this was the first one of the year. Sorry, this was the first one of the year. They just recently put out their second LP just a couple months ago. What was that called? I listened to that one a bunch, but I never bought it on LP. It was pretty dope, but this one was better. I like this one better. This one, I think it was released like first thing last year, 2021, in like February. But yeah, got the gorgeous art on it by that artist I've talked about. I love so dearly. What is his name again? It's really hard to pronounce. He's Hungarian, I think. Oh no, he's Polish. Zdzisław Baczynski. Yeah, Baczynski. Painting on the front. Pretty disturbing, but really fucking awesome. I think this is also some of his art on the back. But this album fucking rocks, dude. These guys, powerhouse trio. Just super cool. Psychedelic, stoner, space rock, doing it right, putting out tons of material. They just like are ongoing. You can't stop these guys. They're like they're like the AC/DC of my generation, I guess. They're probably my age, but they're like the AC/DC. You know what I mean? Like they just take like simplistic, meat and potatoes. In their case, they take meat and potatoes like psych rock, stoner rock. Stuff like that. But much like AC/DC, like I was saying, you just like take that formula and just like, sprinkle magic powder on it, and just you can take one song and play it 10 different ways and make 5 different albums out of it. It sounds mean. I'm not trying to debase their creative process or what they do or what they're putting out, because it's not simplistic and it's not it's not kitschy. It's not you know what I'm trying to say, I think, you folks. These guys just take the simplicity like to the pinnacle. They're such a fucking great band. I've been listening to this a lot all year long. So, oh, sorry, it's called The Burden of Restlessness. The Burden of Restlessness by King Buffalo. Early 2021 release. So everybody get it. Check it out. I wish I could remember the name of the album they put out very late this year. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I didn't like it as much as this one, but it was different. It was a little more experimental, a little more off the beaten path. They tried some different sounds and some different styles and different things. There was a lot of cool like 80s sounds and stuff like that. But yeah, King Buffalo's amazing fucking band. Love them to death. Another one in the same vein, sort of, that is an oldie but a goodie. Um, Brought it back up and out. It's just like, I gotta get my dose of these guys every now and again, and I forget about them a lot. They've had a lot of material. They're an excellent hard rock fuzz rock band called Wand. Um, I'm not sure where they're from or their story. I know they're still around. I think they've put out at least one album, maybe even two albums since this one. But this was right around, like, I believe, I want to say 2014, 2015. It's called Gollum by a band called Wand. Sorry. Yeah, excellent hard rock, fuzz rock band, great singing, incredible guitar playing. The guy's not a virtuoso by any means, but you can tell he knows how to play his rig. He really knows what he's doing, as well as I'm sure he probably is heavily involved with the engineering and production of this. You can tell when guitar players and singers, when they produce and engineer and produce their own albums, like, you can tell. Well, certain things are highlighted and whatnot, but you know what I mean. Um, but just a really professional kind of touch of stroke of genius on this album. Really super fucking cool. Um, I believe there's a gal who does backup vocals, and she plays bass guitar, I think, in the band. But yeah, excellent playing. There's some synth. There's some really great drumming, and it's just like I said, that really awesome brand of fuzz rock. Really psychedelic though. These guys are on that label In the Red Records. Um, Made famous, in collaboration with very famous artist Ty Segall. Everyone's familiar with who Ty Segall is, but he's like in all these like tons of different bands with like tons of different people on that record label In the Red Records. But I don't think he had any direct involvement with this album per se, but I think maybe there's a shared member between some other bands that Ty Segall is involved with. Anyway, they all kind of like have a very reminiscent sound of each other. All of these bands, like the OCs and Ty Segall and all his project, and Meat Bodies and the band Fuzz. They're all like involved with each other in some way, shape, or form. But excuse me, I find Wand is much more just intelligent and much more creative and much more just kind of they have more of like a psychedelic kind of feel, and so they're really kind of hitting all kinds of different aspects and different areas of the universe, and I like that a lot. You can kind of tell by this art theme that they have going on here. Art school dudes and dudettes, really, really cool artsy fartsy types of people, and I love their brand of psychedelic fuzz rock. It just tickles me in all the right places, and I constantly am bringing this out. And I've tried all the other guys, the OCs, and Meat Bodies are okay. But yeah, all that kind of fuzz rock, all on that same label, they're all just a little bit kind of cookie cutter, contrived, in my opinion. But these guys definitely more of the ingenious types. So I listen to that a lot, love it to death. I'll go ahead and close this shit up for you guys. You've been fun. You've been great for listening to me ramble. Thank you very much for coming. Talking about stuff I've been spinning a lot lately. This band and this album, I credit my super awesome great friend Nick P. Thank you very much, Nick. He's been on my show before. You all have met him. He introduced me to this band early this year. I'm super bummed that they didn't have a 2021 release, because I wanted, to put them up. They were probably going to be my, number one of the year. They didn't put out an album in 2021, but I wish they would have. I'm sure they're going to this year. So that'll be great. Look forward to hearing that and listening to me talk about it. But this is my favorite new band. Like, they've taken that place on the top of the list for me. And I got this probably about like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, when Nick first introduced me to it, and I have not stopped listening to it. It's so fucking amazing. This is a band called Greet Death. The album's called New Hell, right? Yeah, New Hell by Greet Death. Um, I don't even know where to begin. Everyone knows how much I love the music I grew up from, the era I come from. I come from the late 80s, early 90s. That's when I was, you know, cutting my teeth, so to speak, on the music that was around us and on the radio and whatever. By the time the early to mid 90s was around, I was in high school, and all the, Pacific Northwest, alt rock and what people coined grunge, that was just our scene here, and that was what I loved, and that was what I was a part of, and it just like it fed my soul. This music has a lot of that, but mixed with just the right amount of kind of the newfangled rock. Um, these guys are, probably, I'd say in their late 20s, highly proficient on their instruments. It's a four piece. Only three of the individuals are credited in the liner notes for being on the album, but I know for a fact that there's four individuals involved. So I'm not sure what the meaning behind that is. Who knows? Maybe one of the members is not a full-time member and is just kind of like helping out on albums. But there's two very distinct singing voices in different parts all throughout the album. Really, I wouldn't say unique, but just really kind of like brave and really um, really fantastic vocalizations by both of the gentlemen that sing. Um, they're not afraid to just sing who they are and how they are. I'm sure that's a difficult thing for people who are frontmen, frontwomen, singers, whatever. You have to find your voice, and some people learn how to master their instruments and then they find their voice along the way, but their voice never really develops, and it just stays kind of that like sophomoric style that they have probably been singing since they were like 16 years old in high school. And that's just what these guys remind me of. They're just kind of like, well, whatever, that's my voice. I'm not going to work on it. I'm not going to practice. I'm not going to try to like, make my voice do something that it doesn't naturally do. You know what I mean? I've struggled with that my whole life. I don't have an awesome singing voice. I don't have like a rock and roll dude singing voice, but like I kind of came to terms with the fact that it's like, yeah, this is the way my voice sounds, and I'm not gonna try to sound like, you know, Johnny whoever. But that's kind of a long-winded explanation of what I'm getting at with the guys who sing in this band. It's just kind of like I don't give a fuck, and it's so charming, and um, it's so just personable, and yeah, it's just charming. I really dig it. Their songs can be really witty and charming and fun and whimsical, but then turn around and be so devilishly and just hauntingly gut wrenching. They're talking about some really deep, deep matters, things of a personal, psychological, and emotional nature with their lyrics. And you can kind of get a glimpse of that by the type of cover art we've got going on here. Oh, and by the way, incredible display of art all throughout the whole album, just with the cover, and then on the inside, just all these, beautiful drawings. Really intricate and cool style of art, and kind of monochrome. Anyway, yeah, dude, this band is fucking legitimate. They're by far my favorite new band of the last, year or two. I can't get enough. Favorite track is that what is that song called? Uh, You'll Be Sorry. Oh, You're Gonna Hate What You've Done. Oh my God. The song is track 4 on this album. You're Gonna Hate What You've Done. Such a beautiful ballad type. It's kind of like a ballad, and then ends, just like these guys can rip, dude. Their guitar playing, there's, I think, some added guitar on the side, but primarily the one guy who plays guitar, dude can fucking rip. Great guitar playing. The song just prior to that is called Let It Die. Also really kind of like, kind of heart-wrenching, almost kind of like country style, like sad, sappy barroom kind of sound to it. Um, I say that, and that reminds me of something I've said before about this artist. And this artist, I hear a lot in this music too, which is Ryan Adams. I hear a lot of Ryan Adams inspiration in here. Lots of 90s hard rock, alt rock inspiration, lots of ripping guitar playing. Really, really creative, unique, ingenuitive hard rock band. Love the shit out of these guys. Everybody should check this band out if you've never heard of them. This is a 2019 they released this. It's called New Hell. But yeah, hopefully going to hear something from them in the next year, because if it's half as good as this album is, we're all in for a treat. So check this shit out, guys. Thanks again for joining me. Once again, you're here with me. I'm Aaron. Thanks for joining me on the Square to Circle Music channel. Be good to yourself. Be good to others around you. Spin records. Play them loud. And peace be with you.